still trying to beat the clock. Think of me what you will. I've got a little space to fill. So let's get to the point. Let's roll another joint. Let's head on down the road to somewhere. I gotta go. You don't know how it feels. You don't know how it feels. No, you don't know how it feels to be me. You don't know how it feels. You don't know how it feels. No, you don't know how it feels to be me.
It's funny, this Indian philosophy book that was given to me by one of my friends who shops at where I work. She gave me a whole bag of books. One of them was Foreseen Beyond Time by Michael St. Clair, the book which I read the entirety of here on this channel. It's funny because the binding's broken, and this is all about yoga, which is binding spine, the binding spine of the book, of your body. Your body's the book, the boat, the story, the Taurus, told from the throat chakra. We're gonna head on down the road and get a flatbread and a beer in a minute, but before that I want to keep reading from the Bhagavad Gita. Sounds like a cool song, but I'm going to turn it off. Sorry. The Bhagavad Gita, and we've reached chapter 3, Karma Yoga, or the method of work. And the question at the beginning is, why then work at all? And one of the things I wanted to comment on before continuing on, what we read about in chapter 2 was, we read a whole bunch of amazing statements from Krishna, who has many, many different nicknames or titles, and he has many names and titles for Arjuna, like Partha. Reincarnation's introduced real quick, and it's not presented at all like as in a theoretical way. You'll notice it is presented matter-of-factly, like Krishna says that everyone who's born is guaranteed death. Everyone who dies is guaranteed birth, he says. Just as everyone who is born is going to die, everyone who dies is going to be born or reborn. The reincarnation is presented as a plain fact, just like, after the sun, El Sol, light of the world here, radiance, ratios, radius, light, sets on the horizon, or the Horus Izon. After Horus sets, becomes Set, the devil, and nighttime begins, we will have that cycle of the day of deity, and then the day will begin again tomorrow. The sun will rise again from 3 o'clock, the eastern position of Aries, the house of the rising sun, after having set at 9 o'clock Libra, the house of the setting sun. So as we can state that plainly, because we can make calendars. I've shown you my new 2019 lunar calendar. Every day is marked. We know what's coming. That's all foreseen, right? You can foresee that there's going to be another day tomorrow, so you can foresee that you're going to have another life, or thousands of them, or that you already have. Incarnate, in the body. That's the other thing Krishna makes real clear right away, is that there is a distinction between you and your body. And he also says that the sage is not attached to egoic gratification or of desire. So let's continue. Meaning when your action is, when you've surrendered the attachment to the results of your actions, then you got the freedom, dominion, freedom. Chapter 3, Karma Yoga, or the method of work. Why then work at all? This is on page 112 of Indian Philosophy. That was a super sour skunk that I was imbibing, by the way. Or is it super sour skunk or super sour? Anyway, it's an indica. I mean a sativa dominant strain of cannabis, of anubis. Arjuna said, so why then work at all? Karma Yoga, or the method of work, chapter 3. Arjuna said, if thou deemest that the path of understanding is more excellent than the path of action, O Jadardana, Krishna. Krishna is also called Janardana. Why then, and you'll see Krishna is written here as K-R-S-N-A. No H in there, and no I. And the 3 dots below the RSN. So Arjuna says, if thou deemest that the path of understanding is more excellent than the path of action, O Krishna, why then dost thou urge me to do this savage deed, O Kesava? With an apparently confused utterance, thou seemest to bewilder my intelligence. Tell me then, decisively, the one thing by which I can attain to the highest good. Life is work, unconcern for results is needful. See in italics there. The Blessed Lord said, O blameless one, in this world a twofold way of life has been taught of yore by me. The path of knowledge for men of contemplation, and that of works for men of action. Not by abstention from work does a man attain freedom from action, nor by mere renunciation does he attain to his perfection. For no one can remain even for a moment without doing work. Everyone is made to act helplessly by the impulses born of nature. He who restrains his organs of action but continues in his mind to brood over the objects of sense whose nature is deluded is said to be a hypocrite, a man of false conduct. And there's the footnote here. Footnote here from up above, the Sage of Vision, which I read from the end of chapter 2. When all beings are attracted by the glitter of sense objects, the sage is intent on understanding reality. He is wakeful to the nature of reality, of which the unwise is asleep or indifferent. 7. But he who controls the senses by the mind, O Arjuna, and without attachment engages the organs of action in the path of work, he is superior. The importance of sacrifice. Do thou thine allotted work. Do your allotted work, for action is better than inaction. Even the maintenance of thy physical life cannot be effected without action. Save work done as and for a sacrifice. This world is in bondage to work. Except for work done as and for a sacrifice, this world is in bondage to work. Therefore, O son of Kunti, do thy work as a sacrifice, becoming free from all attachment. In ancient days, the Lord of creatures created men along with sacrifice, and said, By this shall ye bring forth, and this shall be unto you that which will yield the milk of your desires. By this shall ye bring forth, and this shall be unto you that which will yield the milk of your desires. By this foster ye the gods, and let the gods foster you. Thus fostering each other, you shall attain to the supreme good. Fostered by sacrifice, the gods will give the enjoyments you desire. He who enjoys these gifts without giving to them in return is verily a thief. The good people who eat what is left from the sacrifice are released from all sins. But those wicked people who prepare food for their own sake, verily they eat their sin. From food creatures come into being. From rain is the birth of food. From sacrifice rain comes into being, and sacrifice is born of work. Know the origin of karma, the nature of sacrifices, to be in Brahman, the Veda, and the Brahman springs from the imperishable. Therefore the Brahman, which comprehends all, ever centers round the sacrifice. He who does not in this world turn the wheel thus set in motion is evil in his nature, sensual in his delight, and he, O Partha, lives in vain. Be satisfied in the self. 17. But the man whose delight is in the self alone, who is content with the self, who is satisfied with the self, this is with a capital S, by the way, like in the Jungian psychological model. But the man whose delight is in the self alone, who is content with the self, who is satisfied with the self, for him there exists no work that needs to be done. Similarly, in this world he has no interest whatever to gain by the actions that he has done, and none to be gained by the actions that he has not done. It's like I missed a footnote here. All work to be done in a spirit of sacrifice for the sake of the divine. Similarly, in this world he has no interest whatever to gain by the actions that he has done, and none to be gained by the actions that he has not done. He does not depend on all these beings for any interest of his. Therefore, without attachment, perform always the work that has to be done, for man attains to the highest by doing work without attachment. Set an example to others. 20. It was even by works that Janaka was the king of Mithila and the father of Sita, the wife of Rama. Janaka ruled, giving up his personal sense of being the worker. It was even by the works that Janaka and others attained to perfection. Thou shouldest do works also with a view to the maintenance of the world. Footnote here. The maintenance of the world. Lokasamgraha stands for the unity of the world, the interconnectedness of society. If the world is not to sink into a condition of physical misery and moral degradation, if the common life is to be decent and dignified, religious ethics must control social action. Whatsoever a great man does, the same is done by others as well. Whatever standard he sets, the world follows. 22. We'll continue 22 set examples for others, to others.